Welcome everyone to Let's Chat episode 7. Today I'm joined by Bonolo Gueye, who's going to be talking to us about everything entrepreneurship. For those of you who've joined us for the first time, as always, we don't charge for our webinars, but if you would like to make a donation, please donate to Phoenix. The details are on your screen. I'll pull it up a bit later on when we're ending as well. But I'd really like to minimize the screen so that we can hear firsthand from Bonolo all about entrepreneurship. So I'm going to leave it for a few seconds in case some of you want to take a picture of the SnapScan code if you want to make a donation later on. Okay, for those of you joining us on Facebook Live as well, welcome to Let's Chat. As always, you can view these episodes on our YouTube channel as well later on. Okay, let's stop the share. And Bonolo, over to you. I just welcome everyone and thanks again for joining us. Bonolo, thank you for making time this afternoon to talk to us more about yourself and your company. So for those individuals that have joined us for the first time and who have never met you before, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your amazing company.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity, Jayshree. It's very exciting to be on Let's Chat. I feel very honored to be on the panel today. So my name is Bonolo Gueye and my company is called Maikae Consulting. Maikae is essentially a property consulting business. We work in the commercial sector, so we service office clients as well as industrial and retail clients.
And the name, so I know there's a nice story behind the name, so tell me a little bit about that.
I'm an absolute mom of two. My 16-year-old is Mai, and her full name is Maimuna. And my younger daughter is Kaelo, and that's Kai. Actually, she goes by Kai now at school, which was a bit baffling. I still call her Kaelo. And so that was where the name of the company came from. And we started out in 2016. The girls are very proud to have the business named after them. So yeah, as am I. And it's a reminder of why I got into business, actually, every day that I interact with clients. So yeah.
So what made you get into business? So tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, have you always been passionate about property, or is it something that just fell into your lap? Did you wake up one day and decide, property sounds like an interesting space to play, let me go there? How did it come about?
Yeah. Well, how I got into business, I come from a family of very strong female entrepreneurs. So my grandmother owned a fish and chips shop in Soweto. My mother owned a business. My aunts owned their respective businesses. And so it was always in my blood. I didn't know that I would become an entrepreneur. When I started off in property, I started off working for the certain property management businesses as well as property funds. I studied psychology, and I remember my very first interview, the person that was interviewing me, who ended up being my regional manager, asked me, well, what would I, as a psychology graduate, be wanting to do or achieve within the property sector? And I said to him, well, your properties are occupied by people. There's people going in there day in and day out. And so I got the job. And I worked quite a while within the property management and the listed property funds businesses, just honing in on my skills, learning, absorbing as much as possible. And at the end of 2015, I decided to, like my mother and my grandmother and my aunts, spread my wings and go it alone. I felt that I was equipped with enough ammunition and skill and knowledge to start my own business. And since then, the growth has been organic and exciting. And I'm very proud that I'm still sitting with my head above water in 2020.
Well, you know, during times like this, Bonolo, it's always such a pleasure to see someone that's still so positive about being an entrepreneur, especially when we're facing, you know, the challenging times like we are now with COVID-19. And, you know, I've been engaging with you guys for a while now. And this positivity is so important because it's easy to become demystified, right? With the entrepreneurship space, it's easy to want to go back into a corporate role because at least you've got a guaranteed income at the end of a period. But what attracts you to being an entrepreneur as opposed to having worked in a corporate role in the past? What's the difference?
Well, I mean, for me, the most frustrating thing that I experienced working for a business or a company or corporate was that my degree of servicing my clients was very restricted. Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, you can spread yourself and actually go, you can do a lot more to try to service your clients. So for example, the last company I worked for was Growth Point, and I had a handful of properties that I looked after. So if a business came to me and they wanted a specific solution that was not within that portfolio, my hands were tied. Whereas now I can go to the market and I can find solutions that actually suit and work for my clients. And for me, that's refreshing and rewarding as well.
Definitely. So I see some of you are raising your hands. If you would like to ask a question to Bonolo or myself, please do use the chat function or the Q&A function, and we will get right back to you. So Bonolo, in your profile documents and when we have conversations, you very often refer to innovation in your business. And you just mentioned customizing solutions for your clients. Talk to me about how does one innovate within a property business, and how have you actually innovated? What are some of your products that you would consider innovations?
So we are a service-based business, and our innovation really comes into how we craft solutions for the clients that we service. So the approach in terms of how we service them is innovative in and of itself. Sometimes it's in terms of financial constraints that you are given by a client, or in terms of creativity that you bring into realizing their space ideals. So the approach that we adopt is one that's very client-centric, and it comes with a lot of intuitiveness as well as listening. So listening to what the client's needs are, but also going to where the trends are within that frame, and servicing that. So, I mean, just this week, for example, I had a client who does not accept lease escalations in their business. So we came up with a structure that suited them, although that's not the norm in the industry. So it's thinking out the box, it's working hard to find solutions, and creatively so. And some of those solutions may not be the norm in the industry, like I said, because property has been handled the way that it's been handled for many, many, many years.
Yes.
But sometimes change, and it's good. So long as you understand what the pain points are from both sides and you find a middle ground, that's where we mostly innovate.
So I see some of the participants that have joined us today are your colleagues, if I can call them that, from Propreneur. Propreneur is a property accelerator that my company Yidi runs, which is sponsored by amazing organizations like Kagiso Trust, Motseng Investment Holdings, and SASTEC. So for those that don't know Bonolo, tell me a little bit more about Propreneur X. What has been some of your experiences, and why do you think individuals need to access programs like this to help with their development?
Yeah, so Propreneur X is a property entrepreneur accelerator program that services, or basically that assists small businesses that service the property sector to propel themselves and give them access to markets. Before, obviously, we can get access to markets, we need to dive deep into really, do we understand business strategy, and do we look at our businesses not from the run-in-the-mill and being operational all the time, but in terms of understanding those various components that can assist us, or where we're lacking in skills. So there's a lot of workshops that we attend that assist us to develop those specific skills. and that we can implement directly into our businesses, into our interactions, whether it's project management skills, whether it's marketing skills, whether it's financial skills, so that we can then equip ourselves. As we know, as small business owners, we don't have the luxury of big training and development budgets. So programs such as Propreneur X really do assist us to get all of those skills, like I said, and utilize them for the growth of our businesses.
But what has been your biggest takeaway, Bonolo? You know, because obviously we run this program, so I'm extremely passionate about it. But for those individuals that have joined us, what do you think is the biggest takeaway for you? What do you get out of something like this? And why would they be interested in attending programs similar to this with other service providers that exist out there as well?
A lot of these accelerator programs really do look at access to markets, and they do basically profile small businesses, and they would put them on procurement lists of big corporates. But very rarely do they assist these businesses to understand exactly the nature in which their businesses are structured, and in terms of the strategy of how they're going to basically adapt when they do have those opportunities, or those opportunities land in their laps. And the various thought processes that one needs to go through in terms of preparing themselves to cater for when big contracts come through and the like. So for me, the benefit that I've specifically gotten from Propreneur X is really the business strategy side of things. You start a business and there's a lot of idealism and a lot of dreaming that happens, which is not a bad thing. But it's great to sometimes stand still, take a step back, and look at your business from the outside instead of constantly working and running the mill. So for the past 4 years, I've been working in Maikae. However, I haven't had a chance to work on the business until I attended this program. So that was the first thing. In terms of understanding, is my strategy still relevant, or does it need to be adjusted? Is my core messaging in terms of my core services and how I am marketing my services, does it speak to the needs of the customers that I service? Particularly now with the pandemic that we're in, I've been forced to be a lot more considerate of what my clients' needs are, because oftentimes we want to just say, this is what I do, this is what I sell, this is how I can help you. But really focusing on the last part, this is how I can help you, this is how I can make a difference in my clients' life. So for me, that's where it's coming a lot.
And I've noticed, you know, even on your Instagram pages, you are doing a lot more from a thought leadership perspective. So I'm extremely proud of, you know, how all of you have embraced these opportunities, because sharing with some of your corporate clients and your property clients what they should be doing for COVID-19 to prepare themselves, that's not a direct offering of your business, but you've pivoted to include thought leadership as part of your offering. What else have you done, you know, during these times to ensure that you add value to your property clients?
So thankfully, our industry works in all respects. So when businesses are expanding in size, as well as when businesses are retracting. So our business relies on movement of businesses, but not so much on consulting with what's happening with tenants who are actually in a situation where they can't move from premises A to B, and they need to renegotiate the terms of their contracts, or they need a mediator to come in and assist them with conversations with their landlords around how to defer rental payments, or to basically relieve them of rental payments, even if it's 100% of those rental payments within a certain time frame. Obviously, landlords would prefer a deferment and extending lease agreements and not necessarily being completely out of pocket. But it really needs somebody to come in and do that. Also, to understand, when you're working as a consultant, you can almost assess what the trends are within the property game. So when you're speaking to one particular landlord or property owner, you can also educate them in terms of what the other property owners are doing that could obviously shed some light in terms of how they can assist their existing clients. So we really hold their hands, we hold the tenants' hands, we hold the clients' hands, and we work with them to find a win-win solution that suits both parties.
Okay. So, Bonolo, tell me, what excites you about being an entrepreneur? What do you wake up excited about every morning?
The biggest satisfaction, the biggest joy that I get is flexibility of time. I've had to learn to say no to certain things, and that is new for me, and it's exciting, it's empowering for me to be able to say no to certain transactions or certain inquiries. And also, I think the biggest satisfaction comes from when you hand over those keys and you see a satisfied client, or what is the word in English, a satisfied client. You know, when you've gone through the sourcing of space, when you've gone through all the negotiations, when you've gone through all the options and you've basically worked through a process of elimination, when you've done the designs and you actually start to do the construction and they can see it coming to life, and you hand over the keys and you welcome them into the new space, that for me is thoroughly satisfying. And yeah, I think that's pretty much that.
So for those of you that have joined us, I'm speaking to Bonolo, the CEO and founder of Maikae, which is a property consulting organization. And she's sharing everything about her entrepreneurship journey as well as the property space that she operates in. And we're going to be also covering some tips and techniques for you to look at. So if I get back to you, Bonolo, tell me, what do you think makes you a successful entrepreneur? And before you answer this, I just want to share with you, we have run programs for staff that have been retrenched from 2 large banks in South Africa. We've touched over 300 staff over the last 2 years. And very often they have this nervous excitement to take the leap into entrepreneurship. But you should never underestimate the power of having worked in a corporate and then embarking into entrepreneurship. And I've seen the difference. So I've mentored and I've worked with entrepreneurs who have always been entrepreneurs all their lives. But I've also worked with individuals that have had jobs in corporates, taken those skills, those learnings, and then applied it to their entrepreneurship journey. So what makes you a successful entrepreneur? What do you think has made you a successful entrepreneur?
I think attitude. My attitude is a can-do attitude. I dedicate my time and I dedicate my brain capacity to all the interactions that I service. Where I don't know the answers, and there's quite a lot of answers that I don't have, I collaborate and I'm not afraid to ask. There's a lot of industry skills and brains out there that thankfully over the years that I've created great networks with. So I do ask a lot and I collaborate where I need to. And also sometimes finding those creative solutions that are out the box. So a case in point would be a particular building that I looked after in Sandton, where the landlord was struggling to let their property. A big corporate client that we all know, I won't mention names, had the contract over that building, and being small, I think it was my first year actually in Maikae, but obviously I had a reputation within the industry. The opportunity then was presented to me and I accepted it with open arms. At the time, that particular property owner said to me, well, Bonolo, how do you work? Do you work on your own? Are you going to service this business on your own? Are you going to find us solutions all on your own? And I said to them, look, I mean, that would be great. However, I'm mindful of the fact that there are multiple income streams that are available to us through also other brokers or other agents within that precinct. So I invited them in, which was actually not done by brokers who invite in other brokers to participate in the opportunities, and we share in the opportunity, and the turnaround time for the property owner was therefore reduced. So doing things like that, and getting creative with the solutions and thinking out the box in terms of, well, if it's just not me, how can I take it to the market and solve the problem? If your eye is on the solution, then the solution sometimes is beyond just you. And I recognize
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
And you've touched on something so important. It's critical that we start putting the customer at the center of our efforts. And if you can understand the problem from the perspective of the customer, it's easier to solution. And the solution, as you rightfully said, might not just be you, it might be in collaborating with others, but then you're offering the customer maximum value, which then ends up in more work and more engagements and more opportunities for everyone in this value chain. We've had a very positive conversation, which is great, but I also want to know what keeps you up at night. So, what are some of the concerns you have? And I didn't want to start with challenges because, I know what a positive person you are. I really wanted to talk about the positives around entrepreneurship, but I want to know what keeps you up at night and how are you actually dealing with some of those issues?
So access to markets keeps me up at night, and finding those opportunities to get more business. And obviously, as a small business, like I said earlier, the growth has been quite organic. We are new to some of the social media pages such as Instagram, which you spoke about. So we are trying to expand our reach and getting more people to know about us and the services that we have to offer. So that keeps me up at night. So the business development aspect of it keeps me up at night. Also, in terms of resources, as a small business, especially when you're working as a consultant or a broker, in my case, we work on a reward system where you need to close a deal in order to earn from a deal. So it really does put your resources and your ability to financially service those resources at strain. So that also keeps me up at night, because if you have limited resources, and this is where the collaborations do help, to say that, you know what, I've got a certain number of hours in a day, my capacity is limited to X. And so how is it possible for me to be everything for everyone? And it's not. And I'm a mother also. So to be, to try to find other solutions of how you can service without necessarily losing that client, but in making sure that you give them your 100% attention. That keeps me up at night, and trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to go about that. So the juggling act, as well as making sure that I don't drop the ball in terms of the clients that I do service. And that's why it's important to also be able to say no to certain things that do end up taking up your time, and to learn how to prioritize your time. So yeah, those things do keep me up.
Have you found any amazing tools or new processes or systems that you've learned during these times, Bonolo, during the past
Well,
8 weeks?
yeah, look, I've had to really, and Propreneur X really helped me to review my workflow. Obviously, with restrictions in terms of not being able to have access to clients, we are all online, but also in terms of the property workflow and checkpoints where certain decisions need to be taken. I've had to really review that so that I can make sure that the time spent on a transaction is beneficial for both me as well as the client that I'm servicing. And also it's an assessment to see if there's seriousness on the other side, because oftentimes we end up sharing a lot of IP or sharing a lot of time driving around, as the case may be, obviously pre-lockdown. So now the manner in which I'm servicing the business clients that I have is really coming from an intellectual standpoint, where they engage and they are assisting me to say yes, no, before a lot of work is done. So in terms of resources, property will always be a physical asset that one needs to see. We can't get around that. But certainly there are ways in which you geographically map your properties, that you present catalogs of your properties through imagery, that you present the financials, you check all those various points in terms of the desires that your client has communicated to you, that you make sure that those are fulfilled before you get to the point where you are visiting properties. So we go through quite an intense and detailed process of elimination. And once we have, let's say, the top 1 or 2 properties, then we can basically put on our masks and go out at level 3 and view those properties.
Well, that's great. I mean, as you know, Smanga from Propreneur X as well has got a augmented reality or virtual reality using 3D renditions of properties. So, you know, there's lots of innovations that we see coming through some of these initiatives and programs as well. We've just got a couple more minutes. If any of you have questions, please remember to use the chat function. Bonolo, what's the one piece of advice that you can give to entrepreneurs out there? Those that have just embarked on entrepreneurship, or those that have been entrepreneurs but are now struggling to keep their heads above water. What's the one piece of advice you'd like to leave them with?
So somebody recently told me, shared with me infographic that says that the same boiling water that softens a potato hardens an egg. So it's not about what you're made of. It is about what you're made of, not about your circumstances. So it's not about the boiling water. It's really around, are you going to soften up or are you going to harden up? So that's the one piece of advice. It's, you know, like I said, attitude earlier. Also, I think that prioritizing, staying true to your focus, not letting yourself go haywire in terms of focusing on this, that, and the other opportunity that comes your way, because there will be things that come your way in terms of opportunities, but really staying true to what it is that is your craft. So I chose a long time ago that I focus on commercial property. And for people that don't understand the term commercial property, I get a lot of questions, say, oh, I'm looking for a house, or can you help me sell my home or find a home? And I had to be very clear that I don't work on residential property. So that is my level of clarity. This is an industry I'm very passionate about. This is an industry that I have worked and built my career in. And this is an industry that I absolutely love. So residential property, there are lots of experts in that field, but my zone is commercial. So for business clients across all sectors of businesses, whether it's manufacturing types of businesses, whether it's retail stores, whether it's hair salons, or whether it's office tenants, financial sectors, insurance, whatever the case may be, and of different sizes, the thought process and the intellectual process is the same. I am passionate about small to medium-sized businesses because I believe that they don't understand their rights and what's available to them as much as the large corporates who have obviously certain resources in place to assist them with that. So, but staying true to what it is that you do and the service or the product that you offer. I do know that during times like this, during COVID, it's great to be able to look at secondary or complementary businesses as one should do. But for the most part, you should stick to your knitting.
Yes. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I know it's easy to be distracted, especially when you've got to feed hungry families and all of that. But it is important to know what you should say no to. It's the same with knowing what you don't know. You should also know what do you want to focus on and what you should actually let others do because they're really good at it. And that's where collaboration comes in, because you may still want to offer that to your clients, but you don't have to offer it directly. You'll have individuals that can offer those services. So how can people reach you, Bonolo? What are your contact details? Please share with everyone that's joined us. For those of you who's just joined us a bit late, remember, if you would like to donate and you found value in this initiative, please do so using SnapScan and donate to Phoenix, which is a crowdfunding platform for students. But Bonolo, please tell individuals how can they get a hold of you? And what are your contact details?
So we are on all the social platforms. Instagram is at Maikae Consulting, Maikae Property Consulting on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn as well. You can contact either Maikae Consulting or myself, Bonolo Gueye. Our website is www.maikae.co.za.
Thank you so much. And for all of those, and for everyone that's registered, I'll be sharing all of Bonolo's contact details. So you can have that as well as a link to this recording. I really appreciate you joining us. Over to you, Bonolo, for closing comments, and we'll end the session there.
Thank you so much for the opportunity again, Jayshree. I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat. And thank you for all your guidance and your expertise that you shared with us and the other entrepreneurs on the program. And for the next round of incumbents on Entrepreneur X, I thoroughly recommend the program. So all the best to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you again, everyone. And I'll just leave this for just a couple of seconds on your screen. So if you'd like to make a donation to Phoenix, and if you'd like to go onto their website, have a look at some of the students that are looking for support. I really believe we need to grow the next generation of educated young professionals. So please do contribute to someone's education. I look forward to seeing you on the next Let's Chat session. And with that, goodbye, everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and goodbye to everyone. Bye.
Bye.